Imagine stumbling upon a record in a dusty old vinyl shop, a band you've never heard of with songs that sound like they should have ruled the charts. The voices, the riffs, the soul, it all feels real. But here's the twist. These bands never toured, never signed record deals, and never broke up for real. They only ever existed on the big screen. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of movie-made music. Fictional bands, so convincing, they almost outshine their real-life inspirations. Stick around until the end, because some of these stories are stranger and more legendary than you'd expect. Emerging from the American heartland in the early 1970s, Stillwater became the embodiment of arena rock. Soaring guitars, egos clashing on the road, and a lifestyle torn between fame and authenticity. At their peak, they seemed poised to join the ranks of the greats. Led Zeppelin, Lynyrd Skynyrd, the Eagles. Of course, Stillwater is the fictional band from Almost Famous, 2000, inspired by director Cameron Crowe's real-life experiences touring with bands like the Allman Brothers. Formed in London in the late 1960s, Spinal Tap reinvented themselves constantly, from psychedelic flower pop to heavy metal thunder. Their discography included cult curiosities like The Sun Never Sweats and the infamous Shark Sandwich, which critics famously dismissed in just 2 words: shit sandwich. On stage, they were legendary for all the wrong reasons. Drummers mysteriously perished one after another. Amps were built to go one louder, and their Stonehenge stage set once arrived embarrassingly small. Yet despite endless failures, Spinal Tap embodied rock's reckless spirit, refusing to fade away. Of course, they came alive in This Is Spinal Tap, 1984, a mockumentary so sharp it blurred parody and reality. Musicians from Aerosmith to Metallica admitted, "It's funny because it's true." Jake and Elwood Blues claimed their mission was from God, and nothing was going to stop them from putting the band back together. Drenched in rhythm and blues, their sound electrified audiences, mixing raw soul with comedic charm. The Blues Brothers started as a sketch on Saturday Night Live before storming into cinema with the Blues Brothers, 1980. From small-town Pennsylvania, the Wonders seemed destined for obscurity, until one infectious tune changed everything. Their single That Thing You Do rocketed up the charts, a perfect slice of 1960s pop that captured the era's energy in under 3 minutes. Imagine if the Beatles' success had lasted just one song. That's the Wonders. Their rise was meteoric, from local talent contests to national TV. But with fame came pressure, creative clashes, and the curse of being remembered as a one-hit wonder. Their story comes from That Thing You Do, 1996, Tom Hanks' love letter to the golden age of pop. When the Commitments burst out of Dublin's working-class neighborhoods, they brought a gritty new fire to soul music. Inspired by legends like Otis Redding and Wilson Pickett, their sound was raw, brassy, and full of heart. They weren't polished, but that was their strength. Horn sections blasting, backup singers clashing, frontman Deco Cuff's raspy voice channeling pure emotion. Their short-lived discography included barnstorming covers like Mustang Sally and In the Midnight Hour, tracks that sounded as if they belonged in the Stax Records vault. But behind the music came fights, ego clashes, and chaos. The Commitments were proof that sometimes the most authentic voices burn brightest but fastest. Their tale lives in Alan Parker's The Commitments, 1991, adapted from Roddy Doyle's novel. A fictional band, yes, but one that convinced the world Ireland truly had soul. Sharp suits, smooth moves, and harmonies that could melt a crowd. The Sorels were pure rhythm and blues charisma. Their performances dripped with the showmanship of classic doo-wop groups, yet carried the edge of early rock and roll. Their music wasn't just entertainment. It was joy, rebellion, and escape all at once. Tracks like I Can Dream About You felt like anthems that could have stormed real radio charts. Had they existed outside film, the Sorels might have stood proudly alongside the Four Tops or the Temptations. But they belonged to Walter Hill's neon-soaked Streets of Fire, 1984. remembered as much for its stylized, rock and roll fable aesthetic as for the unforgettable energy of the Sorels. In the 1970s, Strange Fruit were on the cusp of greatness. Their music was part prog rock drama, part anthemic classic rock, songs about freedom, love, and rebellion that could fill arenas. But like many great bands of their era, they self-destructed before truly conquering the world. Decades later, scarred by age and regret, the surviving members tried to reignite the spark. Their reunion was messy, vulnerable, but deeply human. Instead of stadiums, they found themselves in small pubs, searching for one last chance to matter. Critics might have dismissed them as has-beens, but their music carried a haunting power, the kind only time and failure can give. Their story plays out in Still Crazy, 1998, a bittersweet ode to second chances, treating its fictional band with surprising tenderness. With hairstyles as tall as their ambition and shoes as long as their road trips, the Leningrad Cowboys were unlike any rock band the world had seen. A bizarre mix of rock and roll swagger, Soviet melancholy, and deadpan comedy, they set out to conquer America armed with nothing but their music, their style, and a stubborn will to survive. At first, it was a joke, an exaggerated parody of Western rock filtered through Eastern Bloc absurdity. But here's the twist. The joke became real. After their fictional debut in Aki Kaurismäki's Leningrad Cowboys Go America, 1989, the band stepped out of the screen and onto actual stages, recording albums, touring worldwide, and even performing for a crowd of tens of thousands alongside the Alexandrov Red Army Choir. What began as a cinematic satire became one of the strangest success stories in rock history. A band that shouldn't exist, yet somehow does. In the glittering chaos of glam rock, few figures burned brighter than Brian Slade, with his alter ego Maxwell Demon, or the wild energy of Kurt Wilde. Their stories unfold in Todd Haynes' Velvet Goldmine, 1998, inspired by David Bowie, Iggy Pop, and Lou Reed. Born from struggle, trauma, and transformation, Hedwig and her band forged an identity through music that was equal parts raw punk energy and poetic confession. Hedwig's journey belongs to Hedwig and the Angry Inch, 2001, John Cameron Mitchell's cult musical. What makes these bands unforgettable isn't just their songs. It's how real they felt. They remind us that music in movies isn't just background noise. Sometimes it creates legends that exist only in our imagination, but live forever in our playlists. If you enjoyed this trip through cinema's greatest fictional bands, hit like, subscribe, and join me, Mr. Smithee, for more journeys through the magic of movies. After all, stories fade, but the love for cinema never dies.